you can clearly see Austin Reaves had no rhythm tonight. He started the game off with some silly turnovers, missed some shots, and then he kind of got into his rhythm. This whole team looked like they had been off for like 10 days.
Yeah.
And to me, sometimes, you talk about how they practice. You got to practice hard. I know he said he did a training camp type of practice. You got to keep that rhythm. And tonight, clearly, they had no rhythm, which caused a turnover. Because you look at those first 3 turnovers you had, the ball hit their hands, and all of a sudden it was like butter all over their hands and lost out of bounds. So clearly, there was no rhythm. Hopefully, that would not happen again.
Yeah, it's not like they had a ton of practice time. They only practiced once since their last game on Sunday. It's obvious that practice time was devoted to defense. I mean, that was the good news. They held a pretty good team offensively under 100. The bad news, Minnesota just has their number. Lakers scored 80 against them last week. Today, 87. I mean, that offense is just, there you go. Check out the two lowest scoring games of the season against the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's a good defensive team, but they're making the Lakers look like, we're playing in the 60s because that offense is just not good, guys. Like you said, Geek shot 38%, and too many possessions short-circuited with all those turnovers. It's just, they got to work on the offense. They're going to have a similar stretch next week with 3 days off, potentially. Got to work on that offense, period.
Yeah, I mean, guys were in there on Tuesday working out, but Wednesday was their one day of practice. Where they went hard and, listen, needed the rest, but it looked like the T-Wolves were a little bit rusty as well. They only hit 9 threes. They shot 28% from 3. But, yeah, the turnovers, guys, definitely sloppy, especially in that first quarter. 11 was the most they've had in first quarter, anyone in the league this year. So they did clean it up a little bit as that game went on. I think that's why that game was evenly played through those final 3 quarters. But they're 3-8 in the last 11 games. You get Rui and D'Lo to struggle a little bit from the field, 6 of 23. AR returns. What do you want to start with, Big Game? In that little pack.
I agree with Rob. Until you get something consistent, even if you practice 45 minutes intensely with a focus, they just don't seem to connect it. When you turn the ball over like that, and some of them were just non-forced turnover. Inbounding the ball, lazily, and someone steals it right there under the bucket. So, I don't know. I think they need to have a meeting of the minds and have a conversation first, and then decide on how they want to play and focus on 1 or 2 things. 1, not turn the ball over. 2, obviously defense has been pretty good, but they got to figure out how to execute and get plays and who they're going to go to. I think if you're going to run it through AD, you've been saying that, then you got to run it through him. And that's my take on it.
Yeah, they went a little more defensive-minded, starting Gabe and Max. Max had a good game offensively as well. He had 15 points, 5 of 9, so he did a really nice job getting that start. Gabe as well got the start. Listen, when LeBron's, if LeBron's there, it'll
look better.
There's your triple-double or your 20, whatever he wants to get. Does he want to get 25 that night or does he want to get 20? So when he's not there, you got to find those other scorers, Rob, and they just weren't able to do it tonight. Ball just didn't go in the hoop.
Yeah, it didn't go in the hoop. They got some good looks there.
I thought they were getting looks.
They got good looks. They didn't knock them down. And that comes to rhythm. I said something about that a little bit earlier. To me, you got to, when you're not in rhythm, and Brez loves for these shoot threes, when you have no rhythm, you got to go downhill. You got to go to the basket. And if you look at Ant-Man, Ant-Man had no rhythm tonight from 3, but he was going to the basket, trying to get easy buckets. And this team doesn't, outside of LeBron and Rui, they have nobody that's just going to put their head down and go to the basket because nobody has the size enough and the strength enough to rise up over those guys. AR can do it sometimes, but tonight his rhythm was off. And then AD, I know he was like trying to pull Rudy Gobert from the basket because, he's a great rim protector. But sometimes still you need to challenge these guys and hope that you can get a foul call.
Yeah, when they beat Portland like 6 months ago, whenever the last game was, Rui played well, D'Lo played well. Not the case tonight. D'Lo, we talked a lot about him on the pregame show.
Early foul trouble.
Foul trouble, 3 fouls in the first half. He was 2 for 10. Rob, there's your rhythm that just wasn't there. And Rui, 4 for 13 tonight. So if LeBron's not playing, and if you're going to short-circuit yourself possessions with 22 turnovers, you got to shoot better than 38% on the few possessions you do have. And those 2 guys just couldn't make shots tonight. It's that simple.
Yeah, he definitely, let's talk Austin Reaves. He definitely didn't have his rhythm early on, had those turnovers, but he did settle in big game. It's just nice to have him back. I mean, in those 5 games that he missed, it just was so glaring to not have Austin Reaves and what he brings to this team. He ended up with 18 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds.
Yeah, I mean, you expect him to be a little rusty. I mean, 5 games with not a lot of practice time.
And a headband. He had a headband.
After that tough spill, he was just a little rusty. So, but he played hard, but just didn't have his full capacity after being out. Like Rob said, his rhythm was really off.
Problem for the Lakers, Rob? Look at their next few games. They come back home, good news. They play Memphis on Sunday. That team's tied for second in the West, playing great basketball. After that, you got 2 games at Sacramento. Right now, the Lakers are 10th in the West. Sacramento is 1/2 game behind them. So you got to start locking up these games because you don't want to fall out of the play-in tournament. I know it's only mid-December, who cares? But you just want to have a good feeling going to Christmas. Phil Jackson always said, you can attest to this, Rob, Christmas is when you know what you are. We're only 12 days away from that. And the Lakers, they started off like this. Remember when they were 7-0 at home? Everyone was all excited about Dalton Knecht making 9 threes in a game, making 6 threes in a game. And they've just slowly gone the wrong way. And you want to try to, reverse that against 3 really good games, 3 really tough games against 2 really good teams coming up.